When we do jump into the SPY, we are going to first talk about something that I hate when it happens as a trader, and I'm sure other traders hate it too, but we're going to look into a lot of stocks today. We're going to get into some technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, AMD, and Meta, looking over at AMC and GME, seeing some fantastic stuff there. Hasn't curled over on a 30-minute just yet. We're going to get into that. And then we're going to go look over at TLT. I do believe tomorrow's price action will really be dictated on how people do react to that news in the morning, and that would be CPI. So let's get into it. First of all, we do get data tomorrow. We do get the CPI, and the thing with CPI is it's very much so just seeing what signals perform after that news is given out, because we've seen bad readings in CPI. We've seen the market go up. We've seen good readings in CPI and the market go up. So it's kind of like what are we going to get? And I think following the signals is a better strategy still at this point. And the problem with even doing that at this point is, and the thing that I really hate as a trader, is when two things are adding up at the same exact time. If you can see here, we do have this cup and possible handle that is forming here, but we also see that the MACD is very, very close to crossing, very close to the center line, and we do get some news right away in the morning. So is the news going to be seen as good, and we're going to continue this trend and then see that maybe get outside of a daily expected move and set up some kind of reversal signal, or are we going to see the 2-hour pullback continue? And that's something that we need to discuss, as that was able to cross over today. It would be likely that if you do see that 30-minute move, that is going to fail if it's going to head to the upside, but we'll pay attention to that. We'll pay attention to the signals, make sure those are confirming. As of right now, I go with the bigger time frame, meaning the 2-hour pulling down is the most likely scenario, or it would say the 2-hour, if it doesn't cross back up, then more likely we will end up seeing lower prices than this for the SPY. So we do need to pay attention to some moves, because we have kind of almost want to say like a 50-50 flip with this data. It really could be up or down. It's just going to be dictated by that data and the reaction in the market. So the upside daily expect move 601.83 to the upside and 591.97 to the downside. Now, one thing to notice here is these have spread out for tomorrow. So we will be getting some more implied volatility. That means we can see some moves in either direction. But I think what you're paying attention to is, are we going to get that 30-minute to cross and give us some kind of reversal signal that really tells us that that 2-hour is going to come down, or are we going to be able to confirm this 2-hour and just turn up? Because that's going to be something interesting. And then the 2-hour is also just suggesting that the bearish case would be, are we just going to keep pulling back as of right now and maybe head down towards that daily expected move bottom side or the weekly expected move? And once again, for the Qs, they have spread out a little bit on these daily expected moves, and you're seeing that daily expected move is really close to the monthly. So there is some solid resistance in here, and we've really been pulling back, right? We've been pulling back mainly with time ever since we got to these levels, really just mainly going sideways. So that 30-minute, you have to be aware if that thing is crossing up, and we'll look at that in a second. 518.09 to the upside, and we do have 507.73 to the downside. We do have a gap down here, so if we are going to get that pullback, this would be a great area to see that. So we'll see what the reaction is in the market, but this 2-hour is suggesting that can easily happen, right? We get down to that center line, that's when the opportunity is there for some kind of swing trade, and then maybe we end up at a weekly expected move or outside of this monthly expected move for November for the Qs. But the 30-minute is interesting here because it is so close. Look how close it is to crossing down in this area by that center line, which is meaning that if this is able to cross and it holds that, well, then you would say that daily expected move could come into play and we could see some bullishness come in, and this could just keep going, right? It doesn't have to turn around, but we know that this is our 68% zone for tomorrow. So if we do get excited outside of that and we see some kind of divergence there, that would suggest that the 2-hour is going to see a further pullback. Now, this is an extended move, right? And we did update you guys on Patreon as we were touching those daily expected moves, and we said, hey, this is why we have them on there. This is why it's useful. This is why you get a part of the Patreon to get these type of things. And we give this away for free on YouTube, so thank you for subscribing. But we can see that that came down to that move. And I know that people, when it goes down like this and that 2 hours cross, it looks like it's going to do something crazy. But I just wanted to post on Patreon real quick and just say, hey, have a level head. This is where support can come in. Right after I post that, we start to bounce from that level. Okay, so we're bouncing from that level. Tomorrow looks like whatever the reaction to the data is what is going to take place. And we will be paying attention to that live with you tomorrow morning. Apple, we already talked about this a little bit this week. It saw that dramatic move down. awesome, because we went directly to a weekly expected move and we caught a bounce. Now we are struggling in the area where it makes sense to struggle. Is this a cup and handle to build up and burst through 225.84, or is this going to turn down first to give us that divergence point? Now, if this did happen and you made a divergence that would be outside of a weekly expected move, you would have the divergence all the way across, but mainly on the 2 hour. So you would have a 30-minute if that showed up, and you would have the 2 hour. If this is able to go test these lows down in here, you would have a little 2 hour double bottom that could produce some kind of bounce if that flips back around. We're just talking about the opportunities that could flip this thing back to the upside after some kind of move down, because Apple, it is struggling here. It's trying to curl up, but you notice this is a very lackluster curl up on your 2 hour. So you always want to be aware of, if that 30-minute can drop, it can do something like this, and maybe we create a 2 hour double bottom and a 30-minute divergence down here for something like Apple to curl up into positive territory. And that's the important part, guys. You gotta make sure these things are confirming. You gotta make sure this is getting down like this and confirming, and then make sure to be managing your risk, managing your trade throughout the entire thing. Tesla again suggesting that that 2 hour needs to pull back further, right? Crossing over a couple times today. So a couple red bars down there on the histogram. We have not reacted to the 5-day moving average just yet. So if the 30-minute wanted to, it could still sit around here. It could go a tiny bit lower, and that would make sense to test that. Maybe this is going to catch up in the morning. So something with Tesla we're paying attention to. Yes, we hit that weekly expected move, and we could see the next move higher if this 30-minute wants to curl up into positive territory. Overall, if this curls up into positive territory down here, that means, hey, this thing can go test the high and make a new one. The only problem with making a new one is that would take you outside of a weekly expected move. And if weakness does come in, then you can see that divergence confirm, right? We want to wait till they're confirming, but we can notice that that would lead into more of the 2 hour pulling back. So I'm just talking about, it looks like to me, we could see one more 30-minute move higher just to create some more calls in the market, and then we actually get that 2 hour pullback, because I don't think this is enough for that 2 hour pullback, and I think we're building something here. But if I'm wrong, and this is what the 2 hour is suggesting, the 2 hour is saying, hey, we're going to pull back right now. And so the levels that I'm paying attention to are over on Patreon. I just pay attention to those weekly expected moves, and I look for signals around them, especially when we're only halfway through the week. Okay, so what I'll be paying attention to is a couple things here, but I really do like this level in here, right when that gap support will come into play. I think would be a great place for this to catch some kind of bounce. We're going to be talking about 2 hour bounces a lot, because we do not necessarily have the reversal signals to say, hey, this thing is going to flush right now. It can, but that's mainly where most likely since you don't see momentum signals showing weakness, you most likely would see some kind of black swan. Do we have a lot of those things out there that could be black swan? Not necessarily. I mean, we have plenty of problems, but are they really escalating right now? Not necessarily. So I do think any kind of 2 hour pullback would continue here, and that does include for Tesla. Amazon is suggesting that it wants to go up and test this high, maybe even go make a new one. Maybe we're able to get up to that level and create that cup and handle. Okay, we'll see if that ends up playing out. But if this gets excited and gets up to this area, you will see that divergence start to pop up on a 30-minute. Maybe it looks cleaner on the hourly. The thing about the 2 hour is that has confirmed down, right? That has said, hey, we are in pullback mode. So any move like this, if you see weakness in it, this 2 hour might not cross, and you might actually reject and go down by that center line. So tomorrow I'd really be paying attention if divergences pop up, because the first move might not be the right one, and we might go directly into some kind of pullback for something like Amazon. And make sure to stick around for TLT, because we're going to be talking about the fact that we have been going up while yields have been going up. If you were at the live show this morning, we were talking about the fact that the dollar's going up, the SPY's going up, and the 10-year yield is all going up kind of at the same time. So they're kind of positively correlated. And if we keep that correlation, that would suggest if the 10-year yield is going to drop down, that actually could be seen as bad for the market. But it would make sense to make these 30-minute moves higher, because people could see those rates coming down as a good thing. And then we kind of see that maybe repositioning start to take over for TLT. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So something I'm paying attention to here is if Nvidia sees weakness, because this already has the divergence here, right? So we do have that potential to be kind of consolidating to break higher. We're kind of riding that 5-day moving average as of right now, getting a bunch of little touches in there. So that's interesting to me. And this was not able to curl down yet. So no confirmation on this. This could be some kind of weird cup and handle on a very short time frame. We're not going to go into the shorter time frames for that, like short ones. But something here to notice is the 2-hour has already said, yeah, I want to pull back. So something interesting would be if Nvidia does see positivity, that would suggest this 2-hour can curl up. So if that move is good enough, that can send the 2-hour for another run here. And that would be interesting because your first one did not get you very overbought. But the thing here is this some kind of double top for that 2-hour pullback right now? We have a very obvious gap where we could go to, and I think that would be interesting to pay attention to. So for tomorrow, the 2-hour is suggesting a pullback is here, but the 30-minute is still saying, hey, I'm still curled up. I haven't curled over yet, so just give me a chance here. Maybe it goes higher. I would watch out for traps early on in the morning, and we will watch stocks with you to make sure to pay attention to that for you in the morning. AMD, a little more worrisome, right? We were talking about it reacted to a great level. We'll see if that creates a handle. We'll see if it keeps the 5 and turns up. That's not happening, right? That is not happening. So you are curling down, and obviously this 30-minute can curl up and still see that move. You haven't taken out the low, but the 2-hour is going to be important here because that has curled over. So the 2-hour for AMD is suggesting I am negative. I'm crossing over in negative territory. So I'm going to test that low and go make a new one. So I'd be paying attention to AMD. It doesn't mean it's like dead by any means, but it does mean, you know, AMD is the stock that's rolled over and confirmed monthly divergence. So I would be very cautious with this one. If you see a good signal, you have to make sure to manage your risk. Something we talk about extensively, a whole video's worth, a whole 25-minute video's worth in the course. We teach you how to do that on these select timeframes that we go over on this channel. So the main thing here though is the 2 hours, the bigger time frame. If that 2-hour is crossing down, which it did, that is suggesting test the low, go make a new one. So we'll see if this 30-minute has something for us. If we do get a 30-minute pop, just know that that is still in negative territory. And if that starts to fade, you can then go test that low and go make a new one for AMD. And then we'll just watch out if reversal signals are confirming. Meta is a wonky one at this point. It tried to confirm it up. It didn't. It is, you know, it's just a wonky one. And this is looking still like it could be some kind of cup and handle with that gap fill, right, to head higher. But maybe it's just waiting on some data. So we'll see if that 2-hour can curl back up for Meta, as that is very, very tight. Something I would be aware of is the fact that the 30-minute is very close to the center line. This is kind of what I'm talking about when you have multiple signals at the same time that are kind of proving two different things. That's where it gets a little sketchy. When the next day looks like, this could be a 50-50. Sometimes when that does happen, I like to just sit on my hands. I like to just sit back, relax, see the reaction, and then look for the signal later on in the day or even on into the next day. So we'll pay attention to it. But for the most part, for Meta, I think this will just be reactionary to whatever the market wants to do with that data in the morning. Yeah, AMC did some great stuff, some great price action. We actually put it out on Patreon just saying that, hey, you know, well, mainly talking about this for the update video, just saying, hey, that 2-hour, if that does cross up, that's really what you're looking for from something like AMC. But as long as the daily's curled up, as long as the 2 hours curled up, and as long as the 30 minutes curled up, this thing's always got a shot. And the funny thing for me was all the wicks coming in today really showing us, hey, this is a battle right now. And did the short sellers win? Not as of today. You have not curled over on that 30 minutes. So, you know, early on in the morning, I took profit right away in the morning just because it was up 300% or something like that. And I do have 2 positions to do that because I use individual stocks, and sometimes I use AMC itself because it just multiplies really fast when people get bullish on it to actually pay for another position. So if this does pull back, I will have extra cash now to add more to the position, which is very, very cool. So we'll pay attention early on in the day if that 30-minute rolls down. Now, something to understand about AMC for where it is at right now and why I think it will actually turn down that 30-minute. I'll be very happy if it takes off. But I think this 30-minute will curl down just because you're not outside of the expected area yet. They still expected something like this to happen this week, which usually means they are prepared for it as far as the short sellers go. And so I would just really pay attention if that 30-minute crosses down. But if that 30-minute can cross back up into positive territory, that would mean, hey, another good move can come. Maybe that happens later on in the week. We'll pay attention to it. And one thing I want to watch very closely here is going to be a 2-hour chart. If the 2-hour chart can roll down, something I want to pay attention to is if that is crossing, because that would mean this might be an extended move down, maybe to shake a bunch of people out before we actually see some real buying hit the tape. And another thing to keep your eye on for something like AMC is if the daily crosses. If the daily crosses, you're probably in an extended downtrend for a little bit of time, and maybe that is going to create a divergence, and that would be a fantastic look for the stock. Okay, let's pop over to GME after cleaning up that chart. GME, seeing even better stuff, but still, we talked about GME seeing something crazy. That's awesome, right? It saw something crazy this week. It ended outside of there. That puts short sellers under pressure. Then this time right here, hey, that put short sellers under major pressure. You saw two crazy things, right? Closing above a weekly, closing above a weekly. That's fantastic. And it is continuing. So that's great. So one thing to notice here, it's still within that level, right? 28.21 is what you need to break through to see something crazy this week. And it's during the week. And the closer we get to Friday, the more I think they want to fight the stock. So something I noticed early on and why I think AMC does have a higher likelihood to curl down on a 30-minute is because GME did. GME was able to curl down on a 30-minute. It's seeing that reaction up, and then you notice right when it's about to cross, what happens? A red bar. So we'll see if this can cross back up. That would mean you have a very good shot to get above this line, right? To take out this high, go make a new one, and that would be something crazy that puts them under extreme pressure. We'll watch out for divergences if those confirm to let you know, hey, this momentum is shifting to the downside. But something we notice is just the fact that it's in an area to do something crazy. It's just not curled up yet. So you don't necessarily have that hint, and you do have a big event going on tomorrow. It does give them time maybe throughout the day or throughout the night to actually fight the stock. So we'll pay attention to this, but I do think AMC will pull back just because GME did. Now we do go through those times though. We do go through when these things do see big moves. We notice GME starts to pop, AMC starts to drop, then AMC starts to pop, GME starts to drop. And the reason I think that happens is I still think that they have a lot of trouble keeping both down at the same time. Especially now, I think they have extreme trouble keeping these things down at the same time when they're seeing good momentum moves. And the key thing with that is that means their liquidity might be a little bit lackluster. And one thing I'm thinking is they might try to use everything possible to shoot this thing down to get people out of it. And then we actually see the move in 2025. And the reason I'm thinking that is because these guys still want their bonuses, man. These guys still want all their big bonuses. So if they're going to let this thing happen, they might miss out on that. And I don't think they want that to happen. Let's talk about TLT and also with GameStop. It's fantastic price actually. You can't talk badly about it, right? It really is. The only thing you have for you right now is the 30 minutes not curled up. Other than that, all of it looks good, and it's really remaining at higher prices. So I'm very impressed with GameStop right now. Very impressed with AMC. AMC even looks like it's holding the signals even better. We'll see if that curls down tomorrow. Now for TLT, something very interesting here is the fact that we're seeing this rapid move down. Now, what did that do? This caused us to go outside of a weekly expected move today. And that is very, very huge. That is massive to see us come outside of a weekly expected move on a Tuesday. And we have a big event tomorrow. And if you were part of Patreon, we did talk about this. And we talked about it in the video last night if you're not a part of the Patreon. The fact that we could be building liquidity still on this push down. The fact that we could react to that weekly expected move. Now we cut below it a little bit. So that's interesting. But we were talking about how this could be some kind of big buildup to really burst through here. And that's something something I'm paying attention to. We were talking about the rotation into TLT. If people start to see that inflation coming down, I assume people will like that guaranteed yield there. And so that's something I'm really waiting for to see what happens with the data tomorrow. I do think TLT has a good shot if it can curl up a 2-hour. If the 2-hour can curl up and you're seeing a move outside of what's expected, and now if that can curl up, that would be forming outside of that area, that would suggest that this does have a good chance to reverse around. And the thing with TLT with this move is you've created so many divergences down here at this point that if that would confirm up, you're going very positive. So we'll see if TLT gets a good reaction. Management of the trade had to come in for a moment there again. So very wonky trade, but it's starting to really pile up liquidity. Okay, piling up liquidity is what we talked about with Tesla right before Tesla got its massive move. Now we're talking about it with TLT, but we have to see this 2-hour confirm up first. And when that does confirm, you're going to be taking back all these moving averages and maybe have enough momentum to just burst through this little line right here. So the main takeaway for this video is we kind of have a little bit of, I would say, mixed signals. Are we going to get that 2-hour pullback right now, or are we going to get a 30-minute move higher? That's what we'll be paying attention to early on in the morning with you guys when we are live for our live show. The other part too today that we have to talk about at the end here is GME and AMC going to see something crazy? AMC has not curled over on the 30-minute yet, suggesting that it can still see all the positivity. But GME did curl down on a 30-minute and was not able to curl back up by the end of the day. So we have mixed signals there as well. We'll see what happens with this going forward. As always, I just want to encourage people to trade like water, manage risk, and you will be just fine. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. The course links and all that good stuff are down in the description. 90% off just for a couple more weeks, so grab it while it lasts, and then I will see you guys in the morning, all right? Peace.